Hi, all, and thanks for being with me. I guess one of the things that I need to talk to you about is the aftermath of the Dunkley by election on the weekend. I already posted about it yesterday, but it is important to be able to highlight some of the failings of the Liberal Party in terms of, didn't they succeed in a seat which has been held by the Liberals for many, many years? I think there's a couple of salient points that need to be made, and that is if you go with the anger side of things, if you decide that, humiliating and denigrating certain portions of the population by describing people as being hateful, fearful, resentful, is the way that you want to go, then I guess you're going to find that you're not going to be all that popular. And I just need to say, I think that people like Susan Lee and Senator Humes needed to start to take a deep, hard look at the way they behave and how that presents to you and I. Because I think the more you become, or the more you attempt to become Trumpian, the worst that it has, the worst impact that it has for you. Because here in Australia, I don't think that what happens in the US and the way they conduct their politics necessarily works here in Australia, and that we should not look for ways to start to demonise people, because we tend to think that if you're going to demonise somebody, that there's something wrong with you, not necessarily the persons or group of people that you wish to demonise. And there's been many examples of that over the years. There's been the African gangs in Melbourne, and when Dutton attempted to demonise that, that didn't turn out too well. There was the babies thrown into the ocean, according to John Howard and Peter Reith, and that didn't turn out too well either. So the more that you try to demonise a certain group of people, the more devastating the impact will be for you. Also, there are a group of people who are siding with the Liberal Party who are also on the nose. And one of those one of those persons is this particular person. I think this is a great meme. I kind of like it. So Gina Reinhardt with her two puppets, which is Dutton and Lee, doing her thing to endeavour to improve her situation, which is about making more money at everybody else's expense. And these are the sort of people through Advance Australia and other right-wing organisations who are doing whatever they can to convince you that they are on the right side of politics. Now, the other issue, of course, I think, is that Peter Dutton just doesn't have any frigging policies. That they think that by doing this negative campaigning is going to be the answer, because it is what tends to work in other countries. Doesn't seem to work here. Maybe that's because Australians are just smarter than the rest of them. Who knows? But there's this report on the ABC that I thought just tells it all, really. So it says here, let's not forget, however, that Dunkley isn't Labor Party heartland. The seat has been successfully held by Liberals and was ripe for the picking. And later on, it says internally, many believe the Liberals need to start making a more compelling economic case and begin to release some policies. And I tend to agree. I think it's about time you told us what sort of policies you think are going to best help us manage the problems that we're facing, which is particularly relieving some of the stress and the strain that our communities are suffering at the moment because of high electricity prices, food prices, and general living expenses seem to be pretty high. So, and mortgage rates as well. So instead of criticising these issues, I think that it's about time the Liberal Party started to tell us what their policies are. So what have they come out with? Well, they have decided that nuclear is going to be the solution to everybody's problems. So even though it's going to take 9-10 years to build these nuclear plants, and even though they cost billions and billions of dollars and are expensive, and even though people don't want to have a nuclear fission plant sitting on their back doorstep, they think that this is the policy that's going to affect all Australians here and now, right at this minute. The reality is that you want policies that are going to impact people now. You can't wait. You can't put a policy that is a pie in the sky, that isn't going to work in our country, that is too expensive and will take too long to implement. You just don't want to have to do that. But this is the only policy that I know of that the the Liberal Party wishes to run on. And they're running on it simply because it stares itself, or it's not wind and solar, which they hate. So anything to do with climate change and green energy that is not nuclear, they disagree with. They hate it because they must take a different perspective. I think that the Liberal Party would have a much better chance of winning any election if they chose to adopt policies that were more green. I think generally the population accepts that climate change is on its way. And, if you're living in the north of Australia and you're completely being rained out all the time and your place is being flooded and you're experiencing extreme weather conditions, hence climate change, then I think you might tend to realise that climate change is actually upon us. And if the Liberal Party and the Nationals chose to adopt an attitude which was more open to the notions around climate change, then perhaps there might be a shift in terms of the people that are prepared to support them. So rather than being negative and rather objecting to everything that the Labor Party put out, which they do, and they object to absolutely everything, housing affordability, you name it, electric vehicles, emission schemes, the whole bit. They object to absolutely everything. So instead of doing that, if they just chose to pick a few of the ideas that come out of the left of politics and accept them and work with governments to improve them, then they would be better off. Look, even when it came to the tax cuts, they eventually had to agree, but they disagreed to start with. And they are even talking about rolling them back if they get into power. You don't have to be against everything. You don't. No matter which party it is, whether it be the Greens, Labor, Independents, whoever it is that presents a good idea, if you have the nous, you should be able to accept that and run with it and support it. And even, to some extent, make it your policy. So I don't understand why the Libs do that. They're absolutely against everything. We understand that, I guess. But they need to change their tact, because to this point, it simply is not working. And over time, they'll wind up with a crisis, because we'll find eventually that people will get sick of Dutton. They'll get sick of Susan Lee. They'll get tired of not being able to present good enough people to be able to represent views which are more acceptable to the community. So they need to get their ass in gear. I believe, in fact, that it is to our advantage to have a good opposition. Doesn't matter which side of politics it is, but have a challenging opposition, certainly, but have an opposition that's realistic and sensible and will accept and adopt policies which are going to benefit the community, rather than just saying no to everything because you sit on the other side of the political spectrum. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please subscribe to my channel, ring the bells, let me know what your views are in relation to the Dunkley election, and what do you think that the Liberals need to do to change their chances of winning at the next federal election. Remember, there's an election coming up in Cook too, which will be won by the Liberal Party, there's no doubt about that. But let me know what you think in the comments below. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and be safe.